Welcome everyone to Friday Night Young at Heart, featuring nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop's fables, Lewis Carroll, limericks, larks, and such, to keep us all young at heart. I'm Father James DeLucio, back in my room/office. That's why it's overcrowded in this tiny little space and in this tiny little city called New York City. And I'm here to share all these things with you. Tonight I'm going to start a little series on the Ring of the Nibelungen. It's an opera by Richard Wagner that I've really been enjoying a lot lately, and I thought it would be fun to tell you in my own words, which would make it a little more comical than reading the stories, which are really quite at length. And in my own words would be a short and condensed version to invite you to consider the power of these stories, and they really have a lot of universal application in regard to human fallibilities, the capriciousness of all the gods and goddesses of mythology, which give us some lessons for ourselves. This is the first of 4 operas that Wagner wrote. This one called Das Rheingold, or The Gold from the Rhine. And so, to get it started, what is this Rheingold? The Rhine River that flows through so much of Europe, Germany, Austria, other places. Beautiful river, especially long ago, before there was anything called pollution. And when the sun would shine on the Rheingold every day, different times of the day, at different times during the year, the river itself shone and glistened like gold. It caused awe and wonder amongst all the people who would witness it. And it seems, as the tales tell us, that it was revealing sort of the gold at the heart of the earth. Gold that was to be appreciated and to inspire, but not to touch and not to own, because it was meant to be for everyone, and one of the great beauties of nature. And this gold is guarded by the Rhine maidens, who are sort of like mermaids, but not quite, semi-goddesses, but not really, but they were entrusted with their father to guard the gold. Now, they have names, if you'd like to know them. Their names are Woglinda, Velgunda, Flosshilda. So now you have that. They're silly, and they love joking, and they have a little bit of trickster about them. Well, one day at the beginning of the opera, one of the Nibelungen, as I said, this is about the saga called the Ring of the Nibelungen. The Nibelungen are creatures that are part dwarf, part goblin, part human. Strange little creatures. And they live underground. They're quite unattractive. Well, one of the Nibelungen, named Albrecht, he lusts after beauty, and he would love to have a partner much more fair and attractive than the Nibelungen maidens, because like their male counterparts, not too good looking. So he comes and roams around the river bank and sees in the river these beautiful Rhine maidens, and he invites them to be his paramour or his lover. And of course they laugh and tease and taunt him, but in the midst of their teasing, they reveal to him that the gold could never be owned by anyone except for the person or being who would renounce love in all of its manifestations. And they laugh. Love is like one of the greatest gifts to any creature. But Albrecht, disgusted by their teasing and starting to realize how unattractive he is, begins to think, I might as well. He renounces love, and he's able to steal some of the gold, which he takes down into the earth. When he does, this gold sort of reveals all the earth's gold, and he makes slaves of all his relatives and friends and the whole community of these Nibelungen, and he forces them to keep digging for more gold, and Albrecht has this brother, which in English we call Mime, but in the opera he's pronounced Mime, and he has special talents and kind of wizardry and craftsmanship, and he is able to take this gold and forge it into a ring, which becomes a ring of power, and whoever puts it on his or her finger has more power than any of the gods and goddesses. He can control the earth, the whole world, and all of its creatures. He's also made, it's depending on which version you're reading, a vest of gold or a helmet of gold called a Tarnhelm, which makes its wearer invisible. These are Albrecht's great prizes, because to have the power and then to be able to be invisible, he can spy on whoever he has ordered to do whatever to make sure that they're doing it. And he does, and he tortures. I mean, this guy is bad. He's bad. Meanwhile, up in the heavens, we meet the god Wotan, who is like the super god, comparable to Zeus or to Jupiter in the Roman Greek pantheon. He's all powerful to the extent that these capricious gods and goddesses can be all powerful, but not as powerful as the one who will wield the ring or hold the ring. His wife is Fricka, and she's disgusted with him because he's a philanderer. He has children of all kinds, gods, goddesses, mixed race, gods and humans, all around the creation. She's fed up. So she has longed to have a castle. And Wotan is very interested to show his grandeur and to manifest himself through this magnificent palace that they would like in the heavens. And so Fricka's all for this. So they contract these two giants, Fafnir and Fasner, right? Fasolt and Fafnir of the giant race, who alone could build such a magnificent castle, who alone had the strength and the fortitude to be able to build it. But of course they want to be paid. And what should they be paid? Well, they're not interested in other things that the gods, that Fricka and Wotan can offer. So Wotan calls the god of fire named Loge, or Loga, who's a trickster in every way, just as fire. You know how capricious fire is? Here, there, everywhere. You know, it comes, it goes, it's hard, we want it, we don't like it, it's good, it's not good. You know, fire. So Loga says, look, give them something of invaluable price that you have no intention of giving them, which in this case is Wotan's sister-in-law, Freya. She's the god of youth and beauty. She nurtures these beautiful fruit trees, which sort of are the ambrosia of the gods, which keeps the gods and goddesses immortal. And of course, because she's beautiful, the giants would certainly love to have her in their home and hearth. And of course, the immortality was a nice little bonus. So they had agreed for this payment, but now they want to be paid because the castle is finished, and Fricka is beside herself that they had promised Freya. So they call in Freya's brothers, Fro and Donner. Donner is the god of thunder, also known as Thor, and other myths and legends, and Fro, who's the god of sun and rain and fruits. And they say, well, they'll defend Freya. They won't let anyone take her, but she comes running in because the Fasolt and Fafnir are chasing after her. They want to be paid. So Wotan calls Loga to advise him. Now, again, what are we to do? You said we didn't have to give it to them. They're asking for something. And Loga, who wanders around the world, the whole creation, you know, fires everywhere, he says, look, I've heard about this Albrecht and the gold of the Nibelungen in the earth. Let's go there. Let's get some of the gold. Maybe that will satisfy. Fafnir and Fasolt aren't too crazy about the idea, but they will start to kind of consider it. So when Wotan and Loga go down into the earth, they, of course, not only see all the slaves, but they see Albrecht and they see Mima, and they hear about this ring of power. Wotan wants it right away, and this Tarnhelm to give them invisible. And then they play a trick on Albrecht, what you find in so many stories and tales, particularly more recently, Puss in Boots, but going way back, you've heard it 1,000 times. These Nibelungen also have powers. They're shape-shifters. So Albrecht can turn himself into a dragon. He can turn himself into a mouse. You know what happens. So they get him to try all these different things. And then, of course, tiny little thing, little frog, and catch him and bring him up. And then up on the earth, they make him call all the Nibelungen slaves, which he mistreats terribly. And they pile up the gold because Fasolt and Fafnir will only take will insist on getting as much gold as can cover Freya, standing, mind you. So they got it almost. And then not quite. So they have to surrender the ring, which Wotan really, really wants that ring. Meanwhile, Urda, one of Wotan's lovers, she's the goddess of the earth. She comes out from the earth, and in her Mother Earth way, she warns them. You are not to do this. All this gold, this ring, is to go back to the Rhine maidens where it belongs, because everything is now out of balance. But they're desperate. They don't want to give up Freya and their immortality, and so Wotan sort of says, look, lover from before all ages, back to earth to you. So she disappointingly leaves. They give the gold and the ring, but as they do, Albrecht voices a curse that this will bring evil and death to anyone who holds it. So Albrecht and all the Nibelungen go down to the earth. Fafnir and Fasolt go away on their way with all the gold and the ring, and they start arguing over the ring and who will have it. And guess what? Fafnir kills Fasolt, and that's the end of him. The gods get a little goosebumpy because they see the curse is already whirling and dealing and making its impact. But their castle is finished, and off they go into the clouds on a rainbow bridge, off to Valhalla, which will be their final abode. At least Fricka hopes that she'll keep Wotan there. So there we have it. But Loge, who doesn't want to go into the castle, he doesn't like to be tamed, and he likes to be free, going everywhere, as tricksters and fire often do. He gives a little sobering statement about all this mechanizations of Wotan and Fricka and Donner and Fro and Freya, and we hear the cries of the Rhine maidens calling out, "Return the Rheingold, return the Rheingold." Great story, lots of themes about morals and ethics, and makes us ponder why we seem to admire people of great wealth and who live in castles and things, which in this contemplation might keep us very young at heart. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I hope you found it interesting, because I'm planning on sharing the other Ring of the Nibelungen operas in these short little quick excerpts from me. And if you like, you can start listening to the operas, either by purchasing them or looking them up on YouTube, etc., etc. Have a great 4th of July weekend. Thank you so much for being with me. God bless you all. Thanks for joining. Good night.